And we're live. Awesome. Welcome, hi everyone. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome wherever you are in the world to today's learning pieces for developers. Today should be a really, really fun show. We are delving into the world of PHP. Yes, this is a thing. It's very cool, and I'm really looking forward to learning it. So I'm joined today by Björn Büttner. Did I get that right? Tell me I got that right.
It's close enough.
Close enough. Awesome. Who is a PHP developer? If you remember, if you were with us last week, Björn joined us on the stream, and I voluntold him to come hang out. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd like to. I've been coding for about 17 years by now. I think I'm missing 2 months or something like that to the full 17 years. I've been doing PHP for about 14 years, starting with an apprenticeship, which is normal in Germany. It's think of an internship, which is meant to actually teach you, and it does pay you a bit in return. And yeah, I've been working on everything from tiny WordPress sites to multi-million lines of code, custom systems. So yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And just in a few hellos from the chat. So, Ellie, hey, welcome. Glad to have you here. Ellie is looking forward to learning about PHP. So,
Yeah, and
might
I
have a little.
recognize Ellie. So thanks.
Yeah, great to have you here, Ellie. Abhinav says hello. Hey, Abhinav, glad to have you here. So, yeah, we're usually a friendly bunch on these streams. So please jump in the chat. Any questions you've got, jump in the chat. We will do our best to answer them. We're going to be looking at learning PHP, but we're happy to kind of take this in whatever direction that you want to go in the chat around PHP. Obviously, we're not going to sit here and learn something else, but please drop your question in the chat and we'll try and get everything answered and just geek out with everyone. Michael's here saying hello. Hey, Michael, glad to have you. And Amitesh is here saying hi. Hey, Amitesh, great to have you with us. Now, I do want to just dip into one thing you mentioned, actually, which is about apprenticeships. I know it's kind of a bit off topic,
Yep.
but for those folks in the US where this doesn't really happen so much, I think we should just dig into what an apprenticeship actually is. So, I mean, I think they're an absolutely fantastic thing. So, do you want to just kind of talk about your apprenticeship and just how it works?
Yeah, definitely, no problem at all. So the idea is you spend 2.5 to 3 years, depending on the job you're learning, with a company. That company spends time and money teaching you. There's school on top of that you are required to go to. In the end, you get an exam, you get a presentation, the final project that shows that you actually learned something during those years. And the company is responsible for actually teaching you. So they have a list of things they have to teach you, and if they can't prove that they did and you fail, you can actually sue them for that as well, to my knowledge. I
Wow.
was lucky enough that the company I was with taught me a lot more than I needed in terms of languages, because I jumped through pretty much everything they had. And yeah, had a very interesting time first optimizing for IE6, so a long time ago.
Wow. I feel
And
for you.
then,
IE6. Ugh.
yeah, I actually took that as a challenge and optimized for IE5.5 as well, which worked. But yeah, no, but the apprenticeship is pretty much it. I think internships plus learning comes the closest in the
Mhm.
US. I think that's the closest you can actually get.
Because you're basically doing like a degree, but you're
Yeah,
actually working the entire time, aren't you? So not only
yeah,
are you getting the relevant learning because you're learning the job on the job, you're getting applied learning. So it's not just you learning in isolation. We are going to teach you some algorithms. It's you're actually using those algorithms on a day-to-day basis in the company. You are learning how to collaborate with other people, and then you come out of it with real-world experience. Yeah.
yeah, and you get up with something like a bachelor as well. So it's not exactly the same as a bachelor, but in the end, I think it makes maybe 1,000 in a year difference at most. If you get in some years, if you have that bachelor or the apprenticeship.
But it's
Maybe.
great for that
And
experience thing.
yeah,
So there's a professor I know in the UK who actually does a similar idea, degree apprenticeships. So this is at Exeter University. Same kind of idea. It's you'd spend 4 days a week on site with a large tech company doing the day job, and then 1 day a week virtual classroom learning. And then the way Exeter do it, I don't know if it's the same with yours, but you actually move around from different divisions in the company. So you do like 6 months in networking, 6 months in application development, 6 months in cybersecurity. So you get exposure to all these different job roles, and you're getting paid for it, and you get a degree. So when you graduate 4 years later, you've already got 4 years of experience. You've got your degree. You've got no student debt. You've got money in the bank, and you've got that maturity that comes from being in a workplace. So you understand other life skills, which sets you up so much better than your peers. So I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. So it's really
am I.
interesting to hear about your experience.
Yeah, so am I. In Germany, it's maximum 3 years. Mine took 2.5 years because I started half a year late.
Right.
But different story. I just failed my bachelor's studies that I started with in 2007, and in 2010 I decided to switch over to an apprenticeship instead,
Right.
which
Okay.
worked out well, all in all. So I started half a year late, finished on time, and I did switch through everything the company had, but it was a small company. I think 3, 4 people employed total, and I'm not sure if they were all full time anymore. So
Right.
most and the development team was most of that actually.
Okay, nice. That's really cool. No, it's so great to hear this. So I guess a kind of a top tip to anyone: you don't have to go through the standard go and get a degree path. These apprenticeships are absolutely fantastic, and there's plenty of options for these all around the world. So if you're in the US, for example, and you're thinking, where am I going to go and do my degree? Why not Germany? Why not the UK? Why not look at being an overseas student and think about these degree apprenticeships? Looks like
I
Ellie's a
know
fan as well.
yeah, honestly, in Germany, I think there's a lot of openings for apprenticeships still. So also for other fields that you may be interested in, not only software engineering, of course. Pretty much everything you can study has an apprenticeship as well.
Which to me is great. University can be great for learning and great life experience, but sometimes learning on the job is a lot more effective. Ellie's saying there should be more apprenticeship programs out here in the US. I think they're super valuable for newbies and the company itself. Yeah, 100% agree. Big fan of that. So a few more folks jumping to say hello. Ellie is saying, love your glasses. Are they the kind that you can switch up the design on the front? Yes, they are. So held on by magnets. I've got a whole lot of different colors, designs, and all that. Joshua from East Africa, repping all technical writers and Laravel artisans. Lots of love from Hack Mamba. So Hack Mamba, technical writers, very cool, good, strong community. And Laravel, that's a PHP framework, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the most common ones at the moment. There's 2 big ones, one a bit smaller ones that are I'd say the 3 common ones that you choose from at the moment. And Laravel is either the biggest or the second biggest after Symfony. Yeah, that differs depending on which statistics you look at. But they are very, very big in the PHP world, both of them. And Laravel is a fun framework to develop with. It's just a lot of overhead if you're just getting into PHP.
Okay.
Because it defines a lot for you how to structure things. It forces you to follow their best practices, and some stuff is, yeah, some solutions are something I wouldn't want to do myself. But different story. It's a very good choice.
Okay,
Most
very good, but
applications are
very
fine with
opinionated.
Laravel. It's also pretty fast, actually.
Cool. And you mentioned actually you're a WordPress developer because WordPress is all PHP. So is that what framework does that use, or is that its own thing?
WordPress is its own. I did work on WordPress for a while in between. I still do for my own business from time to time to help clients, but it's something small in comparison to the other projects I'm working on. So WordPress itself has an old core. It has a lot of things that could use updating in terms of programming logic, but they like PHP, they don't like doing breaking changes. So the updates take a while, and it's getting better as we speak, pretty much. But for user experience, end user experience, it's great. You have a very well-designed backend. You can easily switch out templates. You have plugins en masse for pretty much everything, from sending newsletters to showing your last YouTube videos on the site and stuff like that. It works as a CMS with a specialization on blogs in the end.
Okay, so it's kind of got everything built in for building an entire website. So the PHP code you write would be specialization on the page for making things look how you want, but otherwise it's, you say, templates, CMS. So a lot of it's out the box, and then you write code to specialize.
Yeah, and it's written in PHP. Even the templates are technically PHP.
Cool. Awesome. So Abhinav, super excited. Gervais saying hello. Yeah, lots of conversation going in the chat there. We have William from
Norway.
from Oslo in Norway.
Nice.
Awesome.
Hi, William. I haven't been to Norway yet. Still need to visit at some point. I've been to Sweden a couple of times.
Yeah, I've never been to Scandinavia. Yeah, I lived in the UK for a big chunk of my life. Never been to Scandinavia, so I need to get to Oslo. There's a fantastic conference, NDC Oslo, which is in Oslo. Funnily enough, with a name like NDC Oslo, I keep meaning to get out to there at some point. So welcome. Yeah, as Gervais says, truly global audience today. So yes, if you haven't jumped the chat to say hello, jump in. Let us know where in the world you are. I'm in the US. Björn's in Germany. We've got Oslo. We've got Africa. We've got all around the place. So jump in. Let us know where in the world you are. So let's do some PHP. I think. Oh, William's saying I should come to Oslo. Yes, I will talk to the NDC Oslo people. See if I can get out there. It'd be very cool. So let's do some PHP. And I guess the first question is, how do I get started? Should I ask pieces?
Yeah, go ahead. There's a couple things that will be told to you most likely. First, you need to install the PHP executable for your operating system. And second, you will need Composer for the dependency resolution.
Okay. So, when you say dependency resolution, are we talking like NPM, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like NPM or pretty much any other dependency resolution tool. Even Maven is similar, for example, other than it also doing the build part. There is no build in PHP. So yeah, for most systems, it's pretty easy. It's usually something install PHP and you're done. For Mac, it's brew. For Linux, it's also something similar, depending on which Linux you're on. For Windows, in my opinion, it's usually easier to get something pre-built like XAMPP or WAMP and just extract the PHP from there, because the installation there is a bit more annoying.
Yeah, Windows is still very much holding on to you have to download an installer from somewhere rather than having a good install manager. So, okay, so now I think I've already done this. Update my thing. So I think I've already done this thing. Let's see, brew install PHP. Yep. Okay, we've already installed.
That is good.
Is that a good version?
Yeah, it's the current one.
It's the current one. Okay. And then I can check it out with PHP -v. So you know what? Let's just.
Yeah, that will print the version for the PHP that you have installed.
So that's going to do the same thing. It's going to print me.
Yeah, exactly. It tells you it tells you a couple more information about it. For example, that you are on the CLI right now.
Mhm.
It tells you which Zend engine version is underneath, and that it's using opcache, which is pretty much a step between parsing and executing the code, which is similar to the build process in non-script languages. It's just done on the fly, and with the next execution, you're actually executing the opcache if it's configured correctly, which removes the parsing part.
Okay, so PHP will kind of compile, sort of, will take all your PHP code and then spit out web code, whatever. But there'll be some kind of intermediate language that's created, and that's this opcache will cache that, so you don't have to every time do it. Okay,
Exactly.
and then the Zend engine. This is the thing that kind of makes it happen. Yeah, is that the
Exactly. Zend is pretty much the origin of PHP in that regard. They provided a lot of the basics all over time.
We were chatting about this a little bit offline, but Facebook were doing stuff with PHP because the original Facebook, that was all PHP, wasn't it? And they did some cool stuff to make it faster, but then they didn't release that back to the community or something.
Yeah, they built their own. They built their own PHP version pretty much first, which is similar to PHP 5.6, but way faster. 5.6 is actually not that old, by the way. A lot of people are still running on old versions out of some reason or another. But yeah, they did build in a way that it was not compatible with the PHP core in terms of you couldn't port parts of the C code that was beneath it back. And they had it released as I think it was called Hack or H or something like that. I don't fully recall because it has been a while since I last had a look. But yeah, pretty much the reaction to that was PHP also doing speed improvements, a lot of them in PHP 7. And since then, thanks, Shivai, sorry, you're right. And later with 8, there were some more improvements to speed. And on top of that, the whole type system got better over the years as well. 5 introduced pretty much types with very basic support and some object orientation, and 7 got it to a decent state, while 8 is pretty much putting on the frosting.
Okay, you mentioned 5, 7, and 8. You didn't mention 6. So
yeah, 6 is a big mystery. It was started to work on. It was meant to improve the support with other languages than English, as in UTF-8, UTF-16, and stuff like that, to my recollection. But it never got finished. So at PHP 6, there are actually books for PHP 6 out that, that still exist, but the version 6 never got released, and to avoid confusion, I think that was the official statement, they just jumped to 7 because there was so much written about PHP 6 beforehand that obviously was not in the 7 that was based on 5 in a different way. They wanted to make sure there was no confusion. But all in all, you can still often run PHP 4 and earlier code on the current PHP actually, because it's so backwards compatible. So it will just be way faster.
That's really cool because backwards compatibility is so important. You've built your entire site using PHP 4. You want to speed it up. You don't have to rewrite everything. So that's great. They've got the backwards compatibility.
Usually it's just minor things. So
it must really suck though as well. You were writing a book on PHP 6. You're following along with it in development. You spend countless hundreds of hours writing the book, and then they go, "Yeah, we're not going to not release this." That must really suck.
I think there were technical limitations in some way, shape, or form, but that is a story I didn't dig deeper into, to be honest. because it just was never relevant to my actual work.
Right. Gotcha.
So,
Okay. So Chevet is saying, my first ever contribution to open source was in PHP to a website called Pokemon Showdown, an online Pokemon battle simulator with a backend in PHP in 2015.
yeah, that's nice.
Pretty cool, though. Yeah, haven't used PHP since 2020. So, okay.
You missed a bit of improvements since then, especially in the object orientation and the performance part. But yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we got PHP installed.
Yeah. Next
the next
one it should tell you is Composer, which is the dependency management. Let's see. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so that's quite a complicated install thing. Is there not a brew for it?
I honestly don't know.
I can't install PHP Composer using Homebrew. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So yes, it says it is. There's a brew in that. Brew install Composer.
Yeah, maybe that is definitely easier. The issue may be that brew is maybe outdated. Let's see which one. I think we are at 2.10 at the moment.
Because it's 2.7.7, which claims to be released 10th of June 2024.
I thought we were at 2.10, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay, well, let's have a look.
It's getcomposer.org.
Getcomposer.org. Latest?
Yeah, okay, 2.7.7. Then I was mistaken.
Okay, so we have the latest Composer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Composer is again for the dependency management. Next up, we would be creating a PHP app, which doesn't get a package JSON, but a Composer JSON, which is very similar in structure. So anyone knowing Node.js will recognize the structure. I'm not sure where.
Okay, this doesn't mention that in there. So let's.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We talked about making a to-do app, didn't we? So let's make an app called PHP to-do.
So
okay.
Composer init would go with you through the steps of creating that.
Oh, nice! It's kind of like a hands-on thing
exactly.
rather than have to do it. Okay, so I have to give it a vendor. What is a vendor? Is that like the organization that owns the package?
That's the org, or that's the org usually, or the user.
Okay, so I'll use that. A to-do app to learn PHP. Author, yeah, it's me. Minimum stability.
You can skip that, just pressing enter. It will default to stable.
Okay, so
you have a project.
License, let's go to my T.
So you could now go and search for dependencies from packages.org, which is the equivalent to npm.js.
Packages.org, okay.
Packagist.
Yeah. Packagist.
Yeah.
Not packages, packagist. Okay.
You can do that in your command line as well.
Ooh.
If you want to, I think we will not need much. I would assume web Mozart assert would be nice to have, and maybe a templating system, Twig, for example, Twig.
Okay.
To make it keep it simple.
So okay, so I can search for package here. So the first one you said was web
Mozart, like the /assert. Okay, it found the exact match.
Oh, nice.
Then I wasn't mistaken, and you tapped right. And the other one would be Twig. That you can, just for testing it out, I would just remove the second Twig, so it will list what you have for choice.
Okay, so this is cool. So you've got a list of packages there that I can choose from based off the search. And then
Yeah.
there's even flags. This one here has been abandoned, which is good.
It will
So I
also
want
list
0.
replacements. Yep, exactly.
Nice. This is really cool. I like this.
Yeah, and
Okay.
if you're done, just press enter again, and it should jump out of that.
Okay.
Do we want to do unit testing or something like that?
If we get time, yeah, why not?
In that case, the unit testing library of choice is PHP unit, one word.
PHP unit, I guess.
Sorry, you
sorry, I
need
need
to
to.
confirm
Yes,
yes.
PHP unit. Yeah, because I guess this is keeping with the J unit, N unit.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first one. Everything
First
else
one.
is stuff that can be used.
Okay, cool.
Latest should work fine, and yeah, I think we're done with what we need for the to-do app actually to make a high quality one as well.
Cool.
Okay, the auto loading is pretty much how to find classes you define. So right now, you say that the source folder is where you will have your classes and other things that make up your application, which is the default.
Okay, so this is just a structure standard project with a source folder where all my source code lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that is above. If you make it a bit bigger or scroll up, you see what it actually creates. There is also, so it's a JSON structure. You don't need to copy that.
Yeah, I was just highlighting it just to make it easy to see.
And it's pretty much all that you need. If you confirm, you will get that generated, and we can install the dependencies that will fill the vendor or folder or directory.
Okay. And then would I like to install dependencies? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that takes a couple seconds usually.
That was quick.
And we are done. Yeah,
So,
the benefit there is that it's pretty quick. The composer log is like a package log JSON. That is huge, usually.
whoa,
So
yeah.
it
So this is kind of taken.
that defines exactly where to get what version from, including references to the version string and stuff like that.
So
And
this
also
looks like.
it's a package log JSON pretty much.
Yeah, but it looks like what we had in the composer.json is being almost
Yeah.
like dumped in here. It's got similar kind of fields to it.
Yeah, it is the same. It's the same structure pretty much.
Cool. Cool.
So you would never manipulate that without second thought, because it has a hash applied to the whole file, and it will warn you if the hash and the file mismatch. So always do a composer update when you change something or want to change something, because install will always install what's in the composer log.
Right. Because in our composer.json, we've just got require with a version.
Yep.
And it's not a strict version, is it? It's a compatible version.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's by default, PHP projects are also using semantic versioning. So usually you are absolutely fine with that. There's exceptions, but they are rare, and usually not the package you stumble upon in normal circumstances.
Okay.
So
Cool. So before we jump any further, a few comments. I don't know how true this is, but Amatesh says PHP devs are buying Lambos by launching indie SaaS instead of using shiny new tech stacks out there in 2024. I mean, how many Lambos do you have in the garage?
0. I have an old Opel, which I really like a lot, but no, you get paid well enough, and there's a lot of things you can do in a short time with PHP.
So yeah, so some reason PHP started to get a bit of a bad name by people who don't understand it, and it's like, no, there's a lot of people doing very well with it. It's incredibly powerful. The fact that Facebook is basically built on it, I think, is a very good sign.
Yeah, the issue is historical. There are things in the historical PHP and that sometimes are also in the current PHP still because of backwards compatibility, that makes the developer experience a bit confusing. It has been getting better with newer versions, but there's still things like hack stack and needle being randomized in function calls pretty much, because some functions have the hack stack first, some have the needle first, and stuff like that, which is for developers that are new to the language, obviously not a good choice. But for all of that weirdness, there's usually a wrapper already in the Composer ecosystem or in the library system of Composer available. It will just wrap that and make sure that you have something reliable to use with very, very little performance drawbacks.
Nice. So someone's taken these quirks and just wrapped it in some kind of package that's available in Composer to make it easier.
Yeah, for pretty much anything. The web modsat assert, for example, is a package similar to that we are going to use for making sure that the data we are getting from the ToDo app is actually something sensible.
Okay, so it's going to assert that if we load JSON from something, for example, that it's the right structure for what we need. Something like that?
Yeah, not JSON specifically. It's more like it's actually a UUID or it's actually an email, so you don't need to implement that at all.
Okay.
Or it's a list of emails, or it's a non-empty list of something. It gives you a lot of options to. It doesn't bring strong types to it. That we do with something else, with a declare statement. But it makes sure that what you don't catch with those types directly is validated in a sensible way, and we don't need to worry about our email regex being horrible, because honestly, they are horrible to do.
Oh yeah, I've seen many discussions on what's the perfect email regex, and someone says, "Well, I got the short one." It's like, great, but that misses this case and this case, so you end up with this massive long thing that's just still doesn't get all the cases.
Yeah, I mean, I had to write one from scratch at some point, but I don't know. It was something like 300, 400 characters in the end, and it still didn't catch everything properly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And obviously, it's completely unreadable to anyone who is halfway sane and doesn't do it. But yeah. So,
in fact, you know what? What's a good regex for validating an email? Let's see what. Okay, so this is recommended a short one.
Yeah, that will miss a lot of things. Because you're, for example, allowed to have multiple ads in an email address, and it wouldn't catch it. But
yeah, this is just literally matching the something at something dot something, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sure that the last something is at least 2 characters long. But that's about it.
Yeah.
So we can't have any 1 character top level domain with an email.
Are there any 1 level top 1 character top level?
No, but for example, you also couldn't have a Jim at 127.0.0.1. That also wouldn't work, even if it's a valid email address technically.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for an internal one. Okay, cool. So yeah, regex is hard. So Gervais is saying, if that's your idea of fun, then you know, I have never got my head around regex at all. I do not understand it. So probably yes, it's one of those things. If I understood it, there could be a lot of fun, because I've seen some really great like code golf where people are doing things with regexes, which is kind of quite cool when they achieve it. But I have never got my head around them. I honestly could not even write this. So for me, AI is great for this, because like, yeah, it can just create me a regex and I'm done.
Yeah.
Gervais saying to do app using the assets API.
The assets API doesn't ring a bell, to be honest.
Okay.
I did see that, but I have no clue what the assets are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Chevet, what do you mean by the assets API?
I would, but that sounds like a usual REST resource
Mhm.
that we are looking at. So we are pretty much creating a REST-based resource system, and yeah, we can do
Okay.
that. That would be the pieces assets. Yeah,
Okay.
that can work.
I'm not sure whether better work out how to use that. But we can see if we get there once we get the basic website done. We can try that. Give that a go. So let's
But
do
yeah,
it. Let's go do the hello world, I
let's
suppose.
let's open up something where we can actually code, I guess.
So I've got Visual Studio Code installed, obviously, and I've got PHP Storm. Which one do you use?
I use PHP Storm because I never got warm with Visual Studio Code, but both work absolutely fine.
So I need to open a project.
Yeah, and just
Trust it. No, I literally only just installed this morning.
yeah.
So what I want to do is get rid of that, and I need to install.
Yeah, it's
Okay. Oh no, it's not that one.
what the PHP. The setting we're looking for the settings right now. It should be when you left click PHP ToDo.
Okay.
No, weird.
There's the project structure there. But what I need is
okay, it's
I want to
hidden
install.
there.
I want to install
Yeah,
pieces. That's the first thing I want to do because first we
yeah.
use PHP Storm.
You can just use PHP Storm and in there in the menu, and then go to settings, and there you have plugins you can search for, just and then install it. It's pretty. Yeah.
Okay.
Takes a couple of seconds and works absolutely fine.
Done. Okay, and there. Cool. There's pieces. I don't need to do the pieces onboarding. That's code snippets.
You have also the Copilot to the right-hand side in the right element bar.
Okay, so there's different
above that. Yeah, above
right.
that.
So
That's
this
the insights, and that's different services to the right-hand side. So left-hand side is pretty much your project-related stuff, and right-hand side is by default your additional tools like databases, like AI tools and stuff like that you can ask general stuff about.
nice. That's kind of a nice layout, isn't it? Because in like Visual Studio Code, everything's on one side, so you have that it's all down one side. So you're flipping between, say, your save snippets and Copilot. You're doing that in the same window. But here, I can have my snippets up here and my Copilot at the same time.
And you can also customize it, so you could just drag them anywhere you want, technically speaking. The window itself.
Okay. Yeah, so I could put that one over here, for example.
Yep.
Oh, nice. And it's kind of top and bottom, so I can flip those around the top and bottom. And it's kind of that's quite a cool layout, actually. I like that. It's quite powerful.
Yeah, it's very useful. I played around with it a lot for my tiny mind map project that I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Nice. And let's make this. Okay. There's 3 GPT-4s on here. I don't know which one I want to use.
I can't tell you. It's a bit odd that I think I forgot to raise an issue about that. But yeah, you can't tell which one is which. They are different in some fashion, I assume, but I don't know which one is which.
Okay.
But yeah, I will leave a note for myself to raise an issue later if you don't do that.
Thank you. Yeah, Chevet's saying that is a bug. One of them is GPT-4o. Okay. Which one? Come on, Chevet. Put you on the spot. Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT-4o. So I'll just pick one. That is a bug. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
I'll double check after this if there's already an issue out. But yeah.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
vendor controls has all the dependencies. You can look inside. It's just normal PHP code. Composer has the auto loading defined, which is how to get your classes loaded automatically.
Okay. So this is the bit where we said my stuff lives in the source folder.
Yeah, pretty much. You can find the detail. That stuff is just making sure you don't use an ancient PHP version and try to run modern PHP code. But yeah, in the composer folder, you will actually find all the definitions for anything that's auto-loaded. Class map, PHP, and PSR4 are the main things usually. Class map is a mapping of where a class is and where the definition of that class is. So very quick to access. It's a hash map in the end.
Okay, so wanted something from PHP unit. It's basically saying that when you access this class here,
yeah, you go to vendor dir PHP unit source, and so on.
Right.
And it's a hash map. Arrays can be hash maps in PHP, which is quite useful most of the time, but yeah.
Okay, because I guess an array is kind of like a hash map in general, but it's a hash map that's keyed off a number, isn't it? That's when you access the fourth item in an array, it's a hash map and the key is 4. So
yeah,
I can kind of see the logic.
I don't know why it was made that way, to be honest. I never dug deeper there. But it's very useful in terms of handling structures. You can do a lot with PHP arrays that you can't do in other languages with arrays.
Nice.
Because they are both hash maps and arrays at the same time in the way they are handled. But yeah, other than that, we do have a couple of other dependencies in there, all with vendor folders next to the composer folder, and we have bin. Bin is pretty much the same as in every other. So that's PHP units that you can execute for the unit tests and integration tests. And yeah, that is pretty much it.
Okay, so I guess in general, the vendor stuff, it's we don't need to think about this. This is just the glue that happens.
Exactly.
So, and if we add something to our composer JSON, that will then appear in here.
Exactly.
But really, we just forget about that and focus on our source. So vendors kind of like node modules, if I think from
exactly, it's the same idea.
Kind of idea. Yeah, and then when I commit to source code control, I guess again this vendor folder doesn't go into source code control.
You shouldn't put it into source code control. Yeah. The idea is at least not to do that because there's no reason you would edit a library and then have people install the wrong version by accident.
Yeah, you're just filling up your storage space with nothing because it's going to be big, isn't it? And there's got no benefit because all that can be installed when you.
We're talking about thousands of files in there. Most projects just have everything in there that belongs to the project, and that way it's pretty big.
Okay.
But yeah, cool. Let's get started with something. We are 40 minutes in and we don't even have a hello world. So let's create. So the default entry point is usually an index.php if you don't have a command line tool.
Okay, so if I get a new PHP file, I'll call it index.
Yeah, there you go. That is the only thing that you usually don't have in any way, shape, or form object-oriented. But yeah, this is enough to write your hello world. So in hello world is, well, technically it's a 0-liner. But I think get the pieces Copilot can tell you how to write in hello world as well. I have I have a guess which one it picks. Okay. That is not what I expected.
So it's so simple, you don't even need a hello world. Okay, I mean, that's just, yeah.
Okay, that doesn't work, but okay. So you can.
I'll start again. Hello world in PHP. It doesn't like it. I'm going to try one of the other GPTs then, just to see whether that one's. How? What should be in my index.php for a basic hello world?
Okay.
It's like nope.
We are not going to present. It just keeps it empty. Okay, that is scary, but yeah.
Okay, it's not rendering PHP code.
Yeah, that's new to me. It did so far.
Okay, I'm going to
It's
zip
just
back over here. Okay, so it's actually that is a rendering bug. That's a rendering bug in our Copilot because look, we've got it worked. We've got text over here.
yeah. So the first one is the most classic one, at least.
Okay, so if I save that to pieces, let's just do a quick rearrange of my windows. So I've now saved that as a snippet, a PHP snippet. Okay, so it's rendering it here. It's just for some reason not rendering the Copilot. Okay, but that's what we've got here. This is my snippet. So let's in fact, let's just right click, insert a caret.
Yeah, you just need to remove the duplicate. You can remove the last 2 characters as well. They are not necessary. They are just for very odd cases where you mix HTML and PHP.
Okay.
So that you can end the PHP block and start an HTML or text block or whatever kind of text-like structure you have. And this one here executes Hello World already. If you want to run it, you can run it with the current file top right. There's a play button next to it.
Hello world.
Yeah, that would also display in a browser as text content as well. If you have a server up, but we don't have a server up yet. PHP can handle that for us. So let's go ahead. Let's run a server. Let's open a terminal that is below the run on the left hand side, left bottom.
Left bottom. Oh, okay, down here below the run. Yep.
Yeah.
Too many rungs in different corners. So
sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's PHP space -s uppercase. And then you can say where you want the server to run. So we want it at 127.0.0.1 and a specific port usually, which I don't know which one of yours is free. And then add a space and you add the index, the path to the index file, the relative one. So in our case, source and index.php. So anything will be sent to index.php now that is being requested on that.
So if I take this, go over here. Hello world.
And we can change it as much as we want to. It will just be changed automatically in that case as well.
So if we change it there.
Yeah, if you save it and you just need to reload. Because PHP is server side, so it doesn't get notified about the changes in the front end once it rendered.
Okay, so no kind of hot reload thing or anything. It's just we have to refresh the page.
You would need to implement that with JavaScript because PHP can't run in the front end.
Right, gotcha.
So WebSocket connection with JavaScript that refreshes the page when PHP code changes is possible, but it's not a default feature.
Right. Okay.
So,
So Chavez saying, can you just try to highlight the code in the editor? No, I am trying. So it's not like it's black text on black writing. Chavez, it's just literally there's nothing there. So
the next thing we can do is actually create the first element that we want to display. So we can go very classic by creating a new class in source.
Okay.
PHP Storm will apply a class already that will autofill the namespace, so the package name and stuff like that.
Nice.
And yeah, you can make it a class, an interface, or pretty much whatever else you want. We also have traits.
Oh, nice. So how are traits and interfaces different?
They have a very different functionality. We also have abstract classes, which is closer to traits in PHP. So the interface is pretty much a contract that tells how the public methods of a class that implements that interface have to be. And PHP is very strict about that. So you cannot add anything to those functionalities that you already have defined in a contract.
Right.
You can use multiple interfaces as long as they don't collide, as in define the same methods. But yeah, that is pretty much what interfaces do. The trait provides a functionality which can be shared among different class implementations, and it's pretty much like adopting a piece of code to a class. I think that's the easiest way to describe that.
Yeah, because different languages do this in different ways. So some languages don't have traits, but the idea is you can have multiple interfaces. You don't have to implement. You can implement those interfaces and more. So you can say, I want this interface, and you're just going to put all this other stuff publicly. Whereas if PHP is very strict, but no, you can only have what's on the interface, then yes, you need traits, so you can then apply it in multiple places.
Yeah, the usual way by now is using smaller classes that are just provided as services to a different class. So traits are not that often used in most cases. So you usually have a small service that you inject into another class, because we have dependency injection, not by default, but there's a lot of userland implementations. And yeah, that is making your life pretty easy in that regard, also for testing, because to test a trait, you pretty much need a class using that trait.
Right.
And there is no good way of figuring out if a class implements a trait without, in PHP at least. The thing that is similar is abstract classes that we also have. They are pretty much base classes that you inherit from, and then use their functionality. You may be inheriting interfaces with them or traits. It's possible. And you can override stuff if they are not set to final, if the functionality is not set to final. We also have, so public, private, protected are the 3 access methods you have, and they define what you can override, what you can change, and what you can use.
Okay, so got a full object-oriented setup going on here. Not one of these, because some languages they tilt a bit towards OO, but you don't get things like private and all that kind of stuff. You don't get those access modifiers in place, but you've got all the inheritance in place. You've got composition over inheritance, which is kind of, as you say, the idea of dependency injection. Abstract classes, bringing that virtuality into it. Nice. You've got kind of a lot of OO power in PHP.
Yeah, you will recognize it's very similar to Java once it's generated. So let's, for example, create one of the to-do list items as a class, so an entity of sorts.
So to-do list item?
Yeah, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. You can even actually choose in here what classes that you want to extend or
Implement. That's
interface for.
interfaces. Yep.
Nice. Nice.
So
That's kind of a nice little class designer person
yeah, it
built in.
is very helpful and will generate something that looks very Java-esque if you haven't
Mhm.
seen PHP in a couple of years. So go ahead. We don't need
Okay.
to extend anything here.
Cool. And it's looking fairly standard. We've got a namespace defined in there, and we have class name. So in terms of naming, it looks like it's all Pascal case.
Yeah, it's you usually name classes in Pascal case, but that depends on your coding standard. I've seen other naming schemas used as well. There's very old-fashioned ones that use pretty much constant case, so upper and case with underscores that also exists. PHP would support that, but it's not the desired way.
Mhm.
So we do need a couple of properties on that. We need a Boolean, so let's create a Boolean or a property. If I don't know if you want to ask pieces how to do it.
Let's do that. How can I add a Boolean property to a class? Now, what it should do, because we're already talking about PHP, it should now talk about PHP. Oh, yeah. This is quite cool. So already got the context of our chat from the fact we're asking a question about PHP. It gives me PHP code.
Yeah, that is very old-fashioned, but that works.
Okay.
So that is
Because
PHP 5 based.
Field. Sorry.
Yeah, no, the backing field is not a problem. It always uses those, but it doesn't use types. So this is type free. That is PHP 5, what we're looking at here.
So can you update that code to PHP 8 with types?
Okay, that is odd. I think it misunderstood it.
I think it did. So that's one thing when using these AI tools is you have to be a bit of a prompt engineer sometimes to come up with the right question. So how do I define a Boolean property in a PHP 8 class? There we go.
That looks way better. Now you get why I said it looks Java-esque when you look at the class.
Yeah, you have a backing field, then you have a getter and setter. Okay.
Yeah. One thing to criticize is the backing field. You can just write the public in front of bool in line 7, and you have that automatically defined as well, and can skip line 8 completely. Let's do that. I'll show you. Let's just copy that, and it's similar to TypeScript's.
So by doing this, that's saying that. Ooh.
Oh, it didn't recognize we're on PHP 8. Oh yes, it says 5.6 in the lower right-hand side. That is odd.
PHP
Right.
5.6. Okay.
That explains why it didn't. That most likely explains why the Copilot thought we were on an old PHP version as well.
Yeah. Because yeah, if this is thinking with 5.6, maybe that's what it used.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would the construct logic it built for would work for 5.6 for sure. So with that, we actually have a public property, and we wouldn't need the setters and getters there actually, because they don't do anything but making sure the type is right. And with the type statement bool, we already have that in the language itself.
Okay, so if I just go back to the older code here, there's no types anywhere in this at all, is it? That's not.
Yeah, that is PHP 5 something.
And that's completely typeless.
That is not completely typeless, but it doesn't have types for for simple structures, only for classes.
Oh, okay.
And
So
interfaces.
yeah, this is a type here, isn't it? So it has one of those, but we don't have the primitive types, the bool strings.
Yep.
Right. But here we're saying it's a bool, and you're saying because of this, we can just get rid of all this.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just access to-do list item dot is. It's called is available. I guess we don't want that. We want is complete, don't we?
Yeah, most likely. If you turn on the structure view on the left-hand side, it is above the pieces. You also see that it generates that code for you in the backend actually. So is complete is now a Boolean that is available at top level.
Right. Okay. So that's a property there.
Yeah.
And that's the method. Okay. So I'm guessing here we want to add that the text of the to-do item, don't we? So
exactly.
same thing, public string.
Yep.
And then it's dollar because there, and that would be item text, for example.
Yeah, for example. So with that, we already have most of what we need. Maybe we need a due date or something like that.
The
date time interface. You usually depend on the interface, not on the implementation. To make testing easier and then give it a name.
Okay.
This way, we now have a class property with a datetime interface, which, and we don't need the slash in front of it necessarily. We can also use an import statement. If you press alternative plus enter, it will propose that. Alt plus import class. It looks very much like Java as well. It's just a different name because import already existed. But yeah, this way we pretty much have our basics.
Right. This is using an interface, I guess, because the date time would be harder to mock because
you have trouble mocking anything that is PHP core.
Right.
So at that level, you try to use interfaces if at all possible, and it's very common to declare classes as final, so they can't even be inherited, to make sure that internals are not overwritten.
Right.
So you can declare anything as final pretty much in a class.
I could do that, for example.
Yep. Now you are unable to extend that.
So I couldn't do class extends to this item like that. That's going to say no.
It will. Yep. That is it's usually a class is either final or abstract. So that is the method of making sure that people don't mess around with your stuff, because you don't have module access where you can say, okay, this class is only available in this module. It's always global access.
Okay.
So the public really means public. Everyone can access it. So
I'm just going to save this to pieces because this is my first ever class. I'm just going to save that to pieces. So I've got that snippet for later. Okay, cool.
I would propose for time reasons, let's build a small JSON to-do API instead, just because it's a bit quicker. Let's implement the JSON serializable interface in that class.
Extends, is that right?
Implements.
Okay, so extends is derived from implements interface. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's kind of guessed already.
Yeah, it will tell you that it doesn't fulfill everything yet, and you could just use the small blue add method stubs action to add the missing methods. It will create them for you with all types and so on.
Okay.
And that's mixed just means it could be anything. You don't know.
Okay.
Or you don't care.
Yeah. So in Python, this would be any, same kind of idea. It could be anything coming back.
Yeah, in TypeScript you would use unknown instead of any, because you just don't know. So usually for a class you would return an array with whatever you like as content, but it can also void means it does not return anything, which is not our intention then.
Yeah. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to cheat.
Yep.
For the following class, write the serialize method.
Yeah, that looks good. Technically, the due date is the only reason we need that, because the standard is not JavaScript compatible and not very standard that you get out of a date.
So it doesn't conform to one of the standard date types.
Yeah, we are just telling it which one to use in this case. In this case, it's atom, an atom date that we're telling it to use. But the issue is, I think I'm not quite sure what the standard was, but it returns weird stuff that no other language can deal with. It is a very historical grown issue. But yeah, with that, we actually have our...
So this just serializes to JSON, doesn't it?
Yes.
How do we handle serializing back from JSON? Is that a thing we need to worry about?
Partially. There's a function that does all that for us. So we just need to assign the values to a class later on. So let's go back to our index PHP and let's return, for example, a list of to-do items here.
Before we do, Esther White has joined us. Hey, Esther, glad to have you with us. We've got a folks more around the world here with us. So yeah, drop in the chat where in the world you are. Great to know where you are, but welcome. And got any PHP questions? This is the place to ask. We have an expert on hand.
She knows we do work together.
Okay.
On open source, to be honest, but also we've worked together, and she's mostly doing Angular. But yeah, so in this case, we want to JSON. And we want to JSON encode a bit of data. So let's echo a function result instead.
Okay, so what do we need to do? To echo
JSON underscore lowercase. But yeah.
JSON underscore encode. Oh, there we go.
Yep, and we can just pass in anything we want to, pretty much. So for example, a list of to-do list items. A list is just square brackets.
Like that.
Yep.
And then in here we can go.
It is new. You need a new statement like in Java.
Okay, so new. Ooh. And then
no curly braces, and then just the identifier as a to-do list item.
No curly braces, you say?
Yep.
So
how would list item?
Sorry, new to-do list item. There we go.
Yep.
And
so
then
it by default takes the whole path, and then you can just fill in the values there. And
we can always take that off, can't we? And just do the import.
Yep.
And then with false, we can do learn PHP. And then
we can create a new date time, for example, which is automatically now. So yeah, that would already be it. If you remove the line 9 and add a semicolon in the new line 9.
Like that.
With that we get that encoded back already.
Cool. Okay. Morgan is saying, "What do you need help fixing?" Well, I'm here. Yeah, we'll sure got loads of questions we can get you to fix while you're here.
Yeah.
Glad to have you with us. HRA 4242. Hey everyone, great to have you here. Nice. And saying that back when I learned programming, PHP was pretty much the only language you really used for back-end work. I loved that time. Web apps were so simple back then.
You actually still use PHP a lot for bigger web apps because it scales pretty well. You can pretty easily scale it across multiple systems as well if you don't use the standard session because it's file-based. But it's easy to replace, and yeah, JWTs, for example, are absolutely fine.
Okay. And with Morgan saying, "What do you need help fixing?" Esther is saying, "Can you fix me up a new car, please?"
I think we missed Shivai's question from 8 minutes past. How is WordPress PHP different than Laravel? So WordPress itself pretty much brings along a different framework. So we are not talking about the PHP being different, that's used underneath, but the abstraction layer that you get is different. WordPress is very old school in terms of PHP, supporting very old versions still. Laravel is very modern with PHP, usually using some of the newest features. So, for example, the constructor simplification that we had is something WordPress wouldn't do because it doesn't work on old PHP. But Laravel, it would be, doing it right away once it comes out, pretty much. So you have similar structures in a way, but WordPress has just the duty pretty much to support old versions because there's so many people still stuck on old versions of PHP somehow. I don't know why. The upgrades is pretty painless usually, but some people really fear it, and for big apps, it can take a while.
Sometimes it's just easier just not to upgrade, and especially if you're a large enterprise. You've built a system, the team that maintains it isn't there anymore, so it's just keep it working.
Yeah, and it's often not documented, so you have a hard time upgrading it because you don't know what it should do.
Yes.
But yeah,
and it's probably running on a desktop machine under someone's desk somewhere that no one knows about as well.
Yeah, possibly. There's one more thing I would like to replace, and that is line 5. We need to initialize the autoloader. That is actually within require once. Require underscore once.
Yep.
And will likely tell you to require once vendor slash autoload.php once you start as a string.
As a string, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if single. Yeah, exactly that. That gets all the auto loading, so the automatic loading of files done.
So that's this one we saw earlier in the vendor folder that loads all the things. Cool. Okay.
And with that, we should get our first item out as a JSON array. And then as an object in that. You don't need to rerun that. You can just open the browser again and reload.
There we go.
And we can obviously change the indentation and the formatting as well. It's just constants that we would pass to the JSON encode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is the simplest way. Now, what we need is a way to change stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we also need to accept incoming things. So the server super array is what we are looking for in that case. Super global. It's an array $_server, which will tell us uppercase. All the super globals are uppercase. And that, for example, it has the request method that is being used, the HTTP method in there. That is what it just auto-completed for you. And with that, we can, not a dot, yeah, like that.
Okay. So this is kind of like the session state almost. So every time the call is made, this has got the request method that was made, any headers, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it contains a lot of information about the server, also environment variables, for example, but you have a specialized super global for that as well, which is usually what you would access. So you can complete that. We will need that, the request method. So we have currently, we can do a router class or just add an if statement here because it's so simple what we are doing.
Okay.
If if open open parenthesis, $server request method equals get. We can do the echo JSON encode.
So actually, we don't need this line here, do we?
Yeah, that was just to get it out of the way. So this is usually hidden in routing elements once you want to define it more more advanced. Right now we are building something very simple here. So this is if you have get. We have an else if. We can use a switch statement or match. So yeah, and if we post, we could take variables from $_post. That is by default available. You don't need to. That would take a JSON input and decode it to $_post, which is fine. Then we have so, and for example, we could return the to-do list item that we are posting there.
Okay, so this $post, that's going to be the contents, isn't it?
Yeah, that is pretty much your body, just passed already.
So we need to create a new to-do list item from that then, yeah?
Yep.
So how do I deserialize it? Because it's got this JSON serialized. So how do I convert the JSON to a to-do list item?
That is one of the biggest weaknesses, in my opinion. We need to actually create the new to-do list item and put in the values manually. So we would put in $_post and is complete equals 1, for example. Not with a dot, but again with the square brackets, because we have an array access there. You do have auto type conversions, but they are not the most reliable ones for bigger apps. So usually, yeah, you don't want them to happen.
So that would be string, and then how do we get the date?
You will get the date as a string as well, but you can wrap it in a new date time, and will try to parse it as much as possible.
Right.
And it will fail if you give it something that doesn't make sense. So that's what it's warning you about. It will. It has an exception that it throws when you give it something that's not a date time.
Right. So we just assume it is for now. We assume we know what we're doing, which is a foolish thing to assume, but for now we'll assume we know what we're doing. Okay.
So with that, we have a to-do list item. We can show it off as a result, of course. So we would need an echo JSON encode again, because we can't just echo an object. You need to save it to something, so a variable of sorts. Yeah, right now there's no database.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just learning. We're just doing a hello world. So
yeah, it's pretty much hello world, and we got sidetracked a lot in between.
Which is half the fun. That's what we're doing this for.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just echo that.
You can also, yeah, that is not a variable. You need to have dollar something equals in the front, and then can use it.
Like that.
Yeah, and you don't need to use an array there. You can just dump the array right in, then we give back the object.
Okay, so this JSON encode then is taking advantage of the JSON serialized method on here.
Exactly.
But we don't have a JSON.
It doesn't exist in PHP, sadly, so far.
Okay. Can you have multiple constructors?
No.
Okay, because it'd be nice if you could have a different constructor that takes a string that just automatically decodes the JSON for you.
Yeah, it's usually abstracted away in frameworks. So I didn't want to overburden you with a whole framework that you needed to learn. That's why we need to do it a bit more manually.
Yeah.
So
No.
if we send a post request to the whole thing, we can now see what comes back. Do you have Postman or something like that? Otherwise, I think
I have Postman.
yeah, that's great. Then that's really easy.
So what I want to do, I'll make a post request to 8080.
And we are just sending JSON.
Body or JSON, and then I could do. So the first one is.
It goes, yeah.
Is complete. False. Item text. Create. Oh, that should be in quotes, shouldn't it? Creates a database for the PHP app, and then this is going to be the fun one, isn't it? I guess I can just lift that entire due date like that, can't I?
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's valid JSON. Format. Yeah, if you send that now, we should get a correct.
Undefined array key is complete.
Yeah, because we're sending JSON right now, and we removed the JSON decode. So it's trying to find that on something that doesn't exist yet. So that is because PHP expects that your request is form encoded by default, or just so we just need to add a line in before line 13. That is, by the way, something a framework will handle for you as well. $_post. Yeah, and exactly what it tells you.
Okay,
so it encodes the standard input into an associative array, which is the expected format for post. And with
now
that,
if I do this,
we get
an error because
I think
Jim can't do things right.
That makes two of us.
There we go. We've got that created. Nice. Oh, chat going on. So Morgan is saying, I can pass JSON variables to the database.
Yes, you can.
In real time. I can do that. Okay, cool. So we need to install Morgan in this to pass it in. Esther's saying, it doesn't create inconvenience. Would it be possible to zoom in a tiny bit more?
The IDE she added. Control plus control and mouse key, mouse wheel, maybe. I'm not sure.
Let's zoom in. Yes, apologies. I'm not used to PHP. It's almost the first time I'm using it.
It should be in editor and general, and you can set the font size somewhere there.
Okay. See if that.
Weird.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So this is a very, very basic example for REST API, actually, or for REST-like API already. So what do you want to do next? Or do you want to do something next to try out?
Yeah, how can we render this? Because obviously we've got this.
Yep.
How do I make it look nice? How do I actually create some HTML?
Yeah. I would use Twig for that. We already installed it.
Mm-hmm.
Twig uses a templating system, which is a slightly different language. It looks like handlebars, for example, or mustache.
Okay.
So we need a Twig environment first. So let's create a new. Yeah, you can ask. I mean,
let's ask pieces.
Yeah.
So Twig. Okay, so
this one works.
So this creates an environment. So okay, so the environment then, if I just drop this code in here,
it should work perfectly fine.
So this is saying use Twig environment, load from our template path.
Yeah, which
and
we
then
can set
cache
to something else. Yeah, we don't need to cache it. It's we can just remove the array because it's not cached by default. And yeah, with that we actually see your changes directly without having to clear the cache or change anything else. So we need a place to put the template. They're
So would it be
called
under my
something.
source?
We can put them in source for now. For example, list.twig or something like that.
What, sorry?
List.twig or index.twig or something like that.
Do I need a folder under here for templates? If
You don't need a folder, but you can create a folder. It makes sense for a bigger app.
Let's just do that for now. So templates, and then in here I go a new file, and this will be a list.twig.
Yep.
And then for the path to templates, that will just be /templates.
It would just be templates without the slash, because otherwise it's absolute and not relative to the project root. Good practice is putting __dir __ before that, because then the path is outside the string. This one, a dot to concatenate. It's a bit odd, I know. This makes the path absolute, so we can add the slash again. The dir is the current directory.
Nice. Nice.
Okay. We need the slash. We need that slash. Sorry.
We need the slash now. Okay, so now we've got an actual base path. We need slash to actually build the full path. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So instead of echo JSON encode, we can now say twig render. Maybe in the. It doesn't matter where actually. And we would just pass in the new item as a value in an array. It needs to be an array.
Okay.
And
like that.
And then we can access everything in there.
That's our list.twig. Okay.
Yep. So that will render an HTML file already. It will just be empty.
Okay, so
because
here's an example it's got here.
Yep.
So what I'd need to do, I mean, we can just do this. In here, we need to kind of, I guess, iterate through all the to-do items, don't we? We need a way to go through a list.
We can, but we can also just output the item first. That would be with 2 curly braces, the opening curly braces, then item, and then you can use dot notation to access any property on the item. So, for example, we could access the text that we have there.
What do we call it? We called it item text.
Yeah.
Do that.
And that would be, and with that we have output that is HTML.
So if we go here, reload.
We changed it for the post, not for the.
Yes. So what we should do then is we should.
Yes, you do, Esther.
So $new item equals that, and then we render that. So Esther asked this question, on Pieces, do you see which LLM gave you that response? Yes. So Pieces has the ability to choose the LLM. So currently I'm doing GPT-4o. I'm using Pieces in the desktop app because it seems we have a bug in the Pieces. We have Pieces in as a plugin for IntelliJet, all the JetBrains IDEs like PHP Storm. And for some reason, it was giving us, in the chat earlier on, we couldn't actually see anything in the output. It was just giving empty. Yeah, look. So, got a bug with PHP. But so yeah, you can choose my LLM from here. We have a load of cloud ones, so all the GPTs, Palm, Gemini, and on device as well. So I've got like Mistral installed locally. So if I want to do this all offline, it's great when you're on a plane and don't have Wi-Fi. You can choose which LLM you want. So it's kind of up to you to choose the LLM based off your own choices, which is very cool.
It's great for privacy as well to have it on device, which is why I use Mistral, for example, most of the time.
Yes, because there was that issue, wasn't there? Was it Samsung were using ChatGPT and they were asking questions that using that their personal IP, and then of course that was used to train the model, so someone was able to ask questions and get access to Samsung's private IP. So having it on device is very cool. Yes, very cool, says Esther. It is very cool.
So I think we can actually render a list of items as well. We can just put a square brackets around new item again, and then it's an array of items automatically.
So if we do the same there, that's that. So then we need to go through here. We need to go through each item, don't we?
Yes. So the for loop is with curly brace, not double curly brace, just one curly brace and then a percentage sign. For item. Item in items might make more sense.
Yeah, so we rename those to items. For item in items.
And we need an end for afterwards, and we are done.
Same thing.
That will. Yeah, exactly. It's one word. It's one word in Twig.
Okay.
And with that, we actually have a list of items. In that case, one item, but we can add more.
Hey, there's our item. So if I now go here, if I rename this to new item 1, for example, and I'll call this one new item 2, raise bug about PHP in PHP Storm.
You didn't add it to the list yet, so it doesn't show in line 19.
Point. There we go. Cool.
So right now it's obviously not nice looking, but we could as well add any HTML tag in between, so a list element around it, for example.
So we could do so if we did an ordered list here.
Yep.
I can't type today, I really can't. And then
you've been typing for 1.5 hours already, so that's absolutely understandable.
There we go. Nice. So we could actually do. Yeah, we could put all the other bits and pieces.
We can put everything in there as well.
Esther's loving the curly braces.
Yeah, I told you she does Angular a lot. So
cool. Okay, so first of all, we need some kind of checkbox, don't we?
Yeah.
How do I do that in HTML?
Input type checkbox.
Input. In fact, you know what? Start a new chat. Just we're not focusing on PHP. New chat, and then let's try one of the offline ones. You're saying use Mistral. Let's use Mistral. See how good Mistral is. I need to create an HTML list. Let's just do a li with a checkbox, some text, and a date picker. Let's see what Mistral comes up with. And this is all on device.
Yep.
I would turn my Wi-Fi off to prove this is all on device, but then I won't be able to stream anymore, so that wouldn't work.
Interesting that it has a preference for styles.
It's bringing in Bootstrap. Okay.
Yeah, that is
Different.
interesting. I haven't witnessed that yet.
Could be because I said a date picker.
Yeah, I think it recognized date picker from Bootstrap. Yeah. It just stopped where it was getting interesting.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want that. We don't want that. So let's start a new chat. So we don't have the context. Let's delete this conversation then. Start a new chat. So it doesn't have the same context. How can I create an HTML li with a checkbox and some text for a? Let's just do that. Now, I've seen Mistral's a bit slower because where it's running on device, it's not quite as fast as you're running it in the cloud.
Yeah, that looks decent.
That looks good. There we go. So we can drop that in there, and I guess that comes out.
Yep.
And I just put that in there.
Yeah, if you want to link that, I would give an ID to the input. Maybe the item text, I'm not sure. We don't have an ID right now, so that is a bit annoying. We can solve that, but...
Should we solve it?
Yeah, or we just generate one. It doesn't matter. We can just give it a name, like we can just put in the item text, technically speaking.
Okay.
It just needs, and label gets a 4 equals and then the ID as well as an attribute.
4 equals ID. There we go.
With that,
Cool.
they should be linked.
There we go. And then I guess we also do a label for the due date as well.
Yep. Yeah, that doesn't work because you are trying to convert something to string that is not one. It needs a format call. You can call actually use .format. Otherwise, it doesn't know what.
So if I go to back to my PHP chat, how can I format a date onto a string?
You may want to add in Twig because the answer looks slightly different.
Okay. Let's just to speed things up. Let's flip this back to GPT.
Yep.
GPT-4. Yep. No, let's try that again.
That does not work.
Okay,
that didn't get that it is a date time object, so maybe add object after date time.
Format an instance of the date time. Okay, so I guess is that
it told you how to transform a timestamp as in an integer. That is the same answer. That doesn't work.
That doesn't work. So
if you do that, it will try to convert it to a number and will fail and giving you the current date time.
Working. It's working.
It gives you, but it fails to convert it to the number, so it gives you the exact date time in UTC now.
Gotcha. Okay. But if I do .format,
That should actually work, if I'm not completely mistaken.
Nope.
Yeah, that doesn't raise an error, it works, but the issue is we are currently always putting in the current date. So maybe in your index PHP, let's put in a different date. The
Good point.
new date
New
time.
date.
Can just put in a string, if, for example, a datetime string, and will automatically pass that.
So if I just take that one there, put that in there.
Yep.
And then this one's staying the same. This one's increasing.
Yep.
Okay. And then you say this weird syntax that came up with over here. If I do that,
it should be changing all the time.
Nope.
No,
It likes
okay. That is odd. Then maybe they added support for that, and I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Okay. Esther's got a question. It says Gemini asking for payment. I wonder how able to avoid that error. Gemini, activate. How do I set a date? How do I format a date time using a twig template in PHP?
Okay.
Yeah, so we are providing all this for you. So yeah, access to all these LLMs is provided by us. So you don't need to actually bring any you shouldn't need to bring any payment in. But is you saying that you get that in different countries? Because yeah, we're providing all this access. So yeah, do you get that? So Esther, I guess, do you get that error with pieces? So yeah, if you're using pieces, choose Gemini. So, if you get that error, can you raise the support ticket in our support repo? GitHub. So UK is okay. EU is problematic. So were you implementing it using pieces, or were you using this directly? Because if you're using it directly, then yeah, that's whatever Google's doing with Gemini. If you're using pieces, no, we provide all that access for you. So you shouldn't need to do. There's no payment method when using pieces.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
not with pieces.
At least in Germany, it works through pieces, so that's not an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we can also set the selected or checked in that case, because the checkbox, depending on if there is currently it is marked as done.
Okay.
So that would again be with curly brace and %, because it's an if. No, it's not value. It's value is the value that would be sent to the backend if it's checked. So it's just a string checked.
So curly braces %
if
item
dot was that is
complete.
Without the dollar, and then
dollar, and then that's what
we can just put in checked as a string. It doesn't even need a value, and after that close the if, and we can then end if. Yeah, it's a bit weird in that regard. It's getting used to that. And if we change the checked in the backend now, we should see the change in the front end as well.
So we just change this first one.
Yep.
Cool. The Esther saying, I'd much rather use pieces than constantly thinking of VPN. There, yes, use pieces, and that way you can try Gemini and try all the others. So yes, use pieces. Just drop a link in the chat for anyone else who's thinking they should use pieces. But yes, install it from here. It's currently free. It's awesome, and we've got integrations with all the things. So we've got browser integrations. We've got all your IDEs plus the desktop app, Mac, Windows, and Linux. It's very cool.
Yeah, so, and I can confirm it works very well on both Linux and Windows. I don't have a Mac, so you can confirm it works on Mac.
I confirm it works on Mac. And yeah, things like the browser plugin is great. So I've got this here. I can ask Copilot, and it'll just explain this to me. All very nice integrated, kind of wherever I am, and all these chats kind of go with me. So if I'm in this conversation over here, I can go back to the desktop, and look, there's that same conversation. And actually, I'm going to show off a cool feature, Esther. I'm going to show off one cool feature, a thing called live context. So if you turn this on, it will actually watch what you're doing in different applications and just pull out relevant context, all running locally. None of this runs in the cloud. Very local, very secure, but you can ask questions about what you're doing. So what did Esther White last say about pieces in Edge? Oh, no, it didn't like that one. It seems to have picked up a different thing.
I think it thinks pieces in Edge is text or something like that. It didn't realize it's a browser, judging from the comment.
See if it's gonna. No, I guess it thinks Esther White is a famous author. So let's try that again. In Edge, who is
maybe what is the last comment from YouTube?
It's a StreamYard. Let's just try that because I'm using StreamYard for this. Let's see if it's going to work that one out. Okay, this is when one of these demos is not going as well as it normally does.
But I can confirm it does work in most cases.
Yeah, it worked last time.
I did try it out.
I did a quick demo of this last time. Maybe it's because you got Monocode Lisa. So what name is next to Monocode Lisa in the see if it's going to work this one out.
Oh, it went directly to maybe Gemini is blocked in that case because it complains about that.
Let's try this in live context on. What am I chatting about in StreamYard? There we go. That's better. So maybe it's the Gemini isn't working so well. But based on Friday context, currently go stream our session titled Learning Piece of Developers. Comments from viewers. Love the new setup. Great to see you streaming again. Okay. Mentioning piece up, responding to Esther White Monocode Lisa with cool. Thank you. So there we go. Yeah, Esther saying, I bet it is Gemini.
I did add it to my race issue list. So
is Esther White Monocode Lisa using Gemini? Yes, Esther White Monocode Lisa is using Gemini. The extracted text includes multiple mentions of Esther White's custom Gemini, such as no, not with pieces, Gemini think, Gemini asks for payments. When I'm integrating, I use APM. So there you go. Yes, it's very cool. Useful for things like you go off to a meeting, you do something, come back and say, what was I just doing? And it answers you. Anyway, we're getting distracted again.
Yeah, it was the first time, and I got about 20 more minutes, I think.
Cool. Okay. Let's see if we can get this working. That's 20 more minutes then.
Yeah, so let's add a form around the whole thing. That would be the easiest case.
Okay. Top level, is that to go here?
Yeah, above the UL, because otherwise it's invalid.
Okay.
So by default, we should set the method to post most likely, because we may add up to a lot of elements otherwise. And yeah, with that, we can actually get the post request in the index PHP already. If we send the whole thing, we just need a button for that somewhere. Input type submit or button type submit.
Input. Submit.
Yep. And with that, we can submit the whole thing.
Okay, so if I check that and uncheck that and do submit.
Yeah, it won't work because right now we are still trying to parse the whole context as JSON. So we need to remove that line.
This one here? Yep.
Yep. And that will at least... Weird. Is complete. We didn't set names on the input fields in HTML. That's why nothing is being sent. Basic HTML mistake.
So is it name?
Yep.
And that is
complete.
Complete.
So the issue now is that we will get multiple is complete back. So we may want to make it an array by adding square brackets after the name part. So is complete square brackets, and then we need to adjust the index PHP a bit.
Okay, so just give us an array of is complete, one for each item.
Yeah, exactly. So we would just loop in the PHP to get all the old items and yeah.
Okay, so is there a way we can save some like global variables just for now, just to kind of store these? So we actually got.
Yeah, we can. For example, we could write them to a file. File put contents is the easiest way to do that.
Okay, so if we.
And file get contents is the opposite, so it's just a thing.
File put contents.
Data.json for maybe just being very simple about that.
And we can just and the data. Let's put that in there for now.
Yeah, you need to JSON encode. You need to JSON encode it at that point, or at least or serialize. I think serialize may actually be easier, but let's stay with JSON for now. It's easier to read and to see.
Okay, so if I just do this, just redo my get, that should then write this file, which is here.
Yep.
That's the format. Okay, that's got two entries in it.
Yep.
So then now
let's use file get contents to get the stuff back out again.
Oh.
Hi, Nikki. Nice to see you.
Hey, Nikki T online. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Glad to have you with us. Esther asked a quick question. Can you add regular style sheets in Twig? I'm guessing.
Yes, you can. You can do pretty much anything you can do in HTML. So
awesome. So file get contents. This returns
is string. So we need to JSON decode that thing.
So take that out, and this is
yeah. You can just use JSON decode at that level and dump in the loaded file exactly, and it will work perfectly. Because Twig takes care of converting array and objects in between each other,
cool.
Which is nice. So, so if we want to do a post, yeah, we need to know if we do right now it's an update. So we would just go ahead and load the file as well, like in line 17.
And then
We
I
need
guess we do.
to decode that. Yeah,
Why is this one put this associative in there?
it's because it makes it a hash map.
Okay.
So if it's not associative, you will get back objects of the std class, which
Right.
doesn't tell you anything. So it doesn't really matter. It's again one of the big failures in my opinion. But yeah, so we can now loop through that and adjust the values. So for
Okay.
each
Item in items.
maybe do $pause arrow item in as no not there. Sorry, my bad. Items as $pause and then arrow with equals. The item can stay. Pause for position and then an arrow with equal sign. Equal a dollar item. Then we have the position in the array as well.
Okay.
And that way we can say, okay, if we can set the item value from is complete there.
So item dot is complete.
No, it's an array again, or you need an object. Yeah, it's an object right now.
Because this is the individual object, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. So item arrow is complete, like a twig render in line 18, exactly. That is the hard without $. You don't need $. There. It's pretty much always, yeah.
It's complete or it's completed? It's complete. Okay. And that then this is because we do this posting here. Is that right? And that gives us this is an array.
Yeah, and then of $pause. Yeah, exactly. And equals 1, I would say, because otherwise we are trying to put a string there where there should be a boolean that will throw an arrow. And then we can render that, actually.
Well, we want to save it again, don't we?
Yeah. So file put contents and JSON encodes the whole thing.
And then do we render it here or should we redirect back to the get?
We can do either. If you want to redirect, it's header.
So when we say header.
Yeah, like that. Exactly that one. Location. List PHP doesn't make much sense. A slash would make more sense. Or index PHP, it doesn't matter. It's the same in the end. Yeah.
Okay. So if we go here, if I check both those, submit that, I have nothing.
And we forgot to set a value, I think. Is that possible on the checkbox? Yep. Yeah, we don't have a value. We are sending back empty data.
Okay.
So value equals 1 or something like that would solve the issue.
Okay, so here we go. Check that. Submit, check that. Submit, uncheck that.
Oh, yeah, and we need a hidden input field because otherwise it skips the whole input field.
So what do we need? What is a hidden? What do you mean by hidden input field?
Input type hidden.
Okay. So what does that do?
That it will just not be displayed. We need value 0 and is complete as well in that case. We need to, oh god, that is going to be annoying. We need an ID of some sort, even if it's just a position. So we can go with position, that's absolutely fine. I think it's for item, pause in items in line 9.
Okay, so this is the ID here. We set that to pause.
I would just use it for the is complete part so that we are specifically setting for an ID.
Oh, like that.
Two curly braces around that, so it is actually interpreted as not on the is complete on the pause, just the pause, because pause is a twig variable now.
Gotcha.
And we can skip the input type hidden with that, I believe. May send some notices out, but that's about it.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
So should we just add an ID?
I'm wondering where we can just add an ID.
Yeah.
Can be anything. You could use math rand, either or the equivalent. So, but yeah, we can also set an ID.
So what we need to do, let's just add the ID in here. ID. Oh,
That won't work.
that will be 1. And then, why is that? ID.
Because you skipped a quote in is complete.
Oh yeah,
First is complete. It has a quote to few.
Got it. There we go. Right, so we're loading with IDs 1 and 2, and that's.
Yeah, then we actually need to access item ID.
Mm-hmm.
In the where it says POS right now, it needs to be item arrow ID. Then we do dollar item
ID. Then we can actually stitch this POS, can't we?
Yeah, we can delete the pause and the arrow, exactly.
Yeah, as Esther says, at least there are only 2 items. Yeah, I'm not going to manually updating 1,000 items.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is not liking that?
Oh, I think we may have that pause in the wrong place.
Is that what we need? The item.id?
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. So now if I uncheck that, submit, check those 2, submit. Nice. So now if I look back here, what I should see in my data, ID1 complete false, ID2 complete true.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So we do
Complete
have a tiny to-do app. We just need to add. So that would actually be a second form. That could actually be a second form if you wanted to.
Okay. So let's do H2, add a new item. And then another form.
Method post usually.
Yep. Method equals post.
I think we just need an input for due date and an input for the item text. We don't. I mean, if you add it to do, it's never completed. So.
Yeah. So input type equals text, and this needs an. Do we need to get a name on this?
Yeah. Name so it is recognizable in the post body. Otherwise, it doesn't turn up.
New item text. Okay. We won't bother the date. We'll just set the due date to be like a day from now, I guess.
Yeah. In that case, we can just add that to the. Yeah, it will complain about the missing label, but we don't technically need it. So it needs to be an ID. But yeah, different story. Let's go to the index PHP and then check if in before line 21 if we have. Oh, actually, we can do it after. We need to do it before line 25. We need to load the file anyway, so before line 25, before we process the is complete, because it would uncheck everything otherwise. We need an if if is set $_post.
If is
Is set is one word. Yeah, it's a bit $_post and then open square brackets.
And then that's
What
the
do we
thing
name
we've
that?
got.
New
New item text.
item text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically
we
saying
need-
if we have this set,
if it exists. Yeah, exactly.
otherwise do that.
Yeah. We need round braces around the is set. Round parentheses.
Yeah.
I
then
never
saying-
get the difference. It's braces, parentheses, brackets.
Yeah.
It's all the same for me somehow.
Brackets and parentheses, the same thing, and then you've got square. These can be square brackets or square, and these are normally curly braces in English.
Okay.
But it's all a bit of a mix. It's a bit of a mess anyway. Okay, so in this, we're saying, is it like an items.add or something?
You don't actually need that. You just add two square brackets after items.
Okay, so items.
And then say equals. And then you can add something else. So, for example, a new what was that? To-do list item.
And this would have is complete. Well, it'd just be false, wouldn't it? False.
The first thing is the ID, so we could just do a count items +1 or something like that.
Count
$items.
That's one.
So we have
New item text.
Yep. I think it's missing something.
ID.
The false. The on second place we need the false.
Oh, yeah, false.
So it's not yet done.
There we go.
Yeah, and that should be sufficient.
Okay. So go here, read the page, add new item. Celebrate. And there we go. So Esther's saying, yeah, me too. Brackets, parentheses, curly braces, I mix them up all the time. Verbally only. Yeah, not in code, just when talking. Cool. Yeah. So we've got to-do lists. So I think we can tick off celebrate and go, woohoo, we did it. Yay! So we have built a to-do list in PHP.
And it just took us 2 hours.
Just took us 2 hours and 7 minutes. But we were chatting about other stuff as well. So
a lot. And finding a couple of bugs that I will raise later.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. So as Esther says, very, very cool. So we've gone from literally nothing. We've installed PHP, installed Composer, and kind of talked about what they did. Using PHP Storm, we've kind of gone through a bit of the basics of what all these files do. We've talked about, we've got some stuff going. We've got a very simple to-do list that loads from a file, and we've shown the kind of the way classes work. We've got a class here that implements JSON serializable. So we've got a kind of first basic class, and then we're rendering that with a twig template. So this is kind of really is that good first start for a PHP app. And kind of once you've got this in place, we're handling data coming in. So we're handling gets and posts. It's a really good start. I think that's a great place to wrap up for today.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, if you're doing that professionally, most of this is taken care of. But it's a good learning experience to do it manually once at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then from here, it's just use the frameworks and
exactly.
do it with the frameworks. Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Björn. Really appreciate you jumping on with me for this. Thank you everyone who was watching. Hope this was informative. We learned a bit about PHP. It doesn't quite buy you a Lamborghini, but you know, it's still a popular language. So yeah, thank you for joining. Hope this has been a good demo of some of the cool stuff pieces can do as well. And yeah, I'm not going to be back for a few more weeks. I've been trying to run these every week, but I'm actually off on vacation in a couple of days' time. I'm flying to the other side of the world. So if you want to be close to your part of the world, I'm going to be in UK in Paris. So I will be back with a live stream on the 25th of July with Dan from roadmap.sh, where we're going to kind of dig into building roadmaps. I'm going to try and get some of my friends from Pieces to run live streams the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, thank you for joining. This has been a lot of fun. And Björn, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And yeah, see you all later on.
Thanks a lot and take care.